La Rochelle show all the qualities that made them back-to-back champions in this competition to come back against the Stormers in Cape Town. My name's Mark. Let's talk rugby. Stormers were applying pressure early on. They managed to force a penalty because La Rochelle don't roll away. Lebock opens the scoring from the tee, 3-0. Stormers then on the attack. They're making good ground out wide with Hartzenberg. Then they go inside, but Leeds and Dante get over the ball to win a penalty for La Rochelle. Good defence there. And the whole game, La Rochelle were such a big threat at the breakdown. Those two guys, Bottia as well, to the fore there. La Rochelle then take the risk of playing close to their own 22. They knock it on, giving a 5-metre scrum to the Stormers in the shadow of the posts. Stormers go off the scrum. Noel gets pinged for not rolling away. Stormers decide to go to the corner. Latu then gets pinged for coming in at the side as La Rochelle keep them all out. And you feel like at this stage they've got to be careful. They concede another couple of penalties after Stormers go back to the corner and Will Skelton gets sent to the bin. Feel like, Stormers, they need to take full advantage of this. Lebock doubles the lead with the penalty, 6-0. Hallant then runs a long kick back, finds Lebock, who goes on a mazy run, gives it to Van Herden onto Willemse. Nice step from him. Then he puts Morat through a hole before he puts Yanchis in under the post, converted for 13-0. Stormers building a lead nicely at this stage. Bottia then wins a penalty at the breakdown for La Rochelle just after the restart, and it gives them a chance, to get a foothold in the game as a kick for the post. Astoy pulls the kick left and wide. The wind certainly played a part in that, and it wasn't the last time the wind had something to say in this game as well. It was very, very windy there, almost like sports ground in Galway type conditions, at least wind wise, not necessarily the sunshine though. Bottia then he wins a penalty for holding on, and this time La Rochelle decide to go to the corner. Ulta Delan just about taps the ball back as he takes the tail of the line out. La Rochelle go through some phases, and it looked like there might have been a forward pass in there, but Matthew Carley, he looks over to his assistant. He's getting nothing back from him though. So on they go, but they're going backwards, and Dante spills a long pass as the move breaks down. And that's kind of the last significant action of the half. 13-0 at half time. La Rochelle need a big turnaround after the break. Good signs though from them in the early stages of the half. Skelton and Antonio carrying well, and some nice offloads as well. Evan Rusto gets into the passing channel and intercepts to snuff out that particular move. Latu then not retreating from a kick, and it's a penalty to the Stormers. Another penalty after the line out for Bottia not rolling away, and Stormers with a good chance just to keep that scoreboard ticking over. Lebock pops the penalty over for 16-0. Stormers then playing the 9, and La Rochelle kick to the corner. Some real danger here now. They've got advantage for offsiding and collapsing them all. They play on. Antonio stopped just short. Then we have a TMO check for a potential on-field try. It's pretty clear in the replay that Penberne is the scorer. Like, he gets the ball down on the line, there's no doubt about it. La Rochelle's big men really made a dent in the Stormers' defence in the build-up there as well. Astoy converts for 16 points to 7, and you just feel that momentum beginning to build on La Rochelle's side. They then win a penalty at a scrum for Brock Harris hinging, and they're back into this in a big way. Stormers, you feel like they need to get some kind of response to stop what feels like almost an inevitable comeback from La Rochelle. Stormers then offside. They get a warning that the next one is going to go to the bin. Astoy slots the penalty from in front. It's 16 points to 10. Then have a clash of heads between Morat and Daimani as they both go to tackle Bottia. It leaves Daimani needing treatment on the field. He has to go off. Dion Free comes on for him. Morat then, a few minutes later, he gets his head on the wrong side in a tackle on Will Skelton, and he's off for an HIA. I don't think he comes back. Stormers really running out of players. They lost, somebody at halftime as well. I think somebody before halftime too. La Rochelle then piling under pressure close to the Stormers line. The unison goes to the bin, and it's a penalty to La Rochelle. They opt to go for the tap and go. Stopped short on the first tap, but recycle a couple of times, and Aldry touches down on the line. Astai converts. La Rochelle in front for basically the first time at 17-16. Stormers need a response now. Stormers, they do respond with a bit of magic. La Rochelle almost turn over in the centre of the field, but Stormers retain the ball. They get it out to the width. Wilmse goes down the touchline and has the gas to go over the line, but then we have a team overview. There's a knock on at the ruck, so it's no try. And in replays before that, we saw that Wilmse probably did have at least a foot and touch on one occasion on his run down the line. So that's chalked off a big moment for them as well, because La Rochelle have a lot of momentum after this to get a couple of penalties, and they're kicking back into that corner looking for a killing blow, and over goes Sclavi after a nice pop pass from Skelton. Astai misses the conversion just to the left. It's 22 points to 16. Stormers then get a quick fire double penalties themselves. They go up the line into that La Rochelle 22. They work it close to the line, but then they get pinged for hanging on as Tanga gets over the ball. Poor ball security there, really, from the Stormers. They knew how threatening La Rochelle would be at the breakdown, and they still couldn't get the guys in there to look after the guys are maybe a second or two just too slow getting in there, and the penalty was already conceded. Stormers then break down the left with Wilmse. He tries a step back inside. Could have used, he had support on his inside, and he stopped just short. But then La Rochelle do get a yellow card, and it's a penalty. Lades goes to the bin for, I think it was basically for slowing the ball down. Great hands out of tackling for Stormers to set Wilms away on that one, but they absolutely should have scored a try there, and it may have been the winning of the game for them. Stormers then opt for the scrum. Another penalty to the Stormers as La Rochelle go down in the scrum, and we have a free-for-all then. Time is ticking down. It's just handbags, so we go back for another scrum, and it's taken forever to for the scrum to actually happen. La Rochelle using all their experience to run the clock down. Lots of resets there. Stormers finally get the ball out, and it's a lovely crossfield kick from the Bach. Sets up a try for Hartzenberg. Now he's got the conversion to win the game for the Stormers, but the wind is just too much, and I think the angle as well played a part in that, and the ball just keeps continually drifting wider and wider of the post after he's kicked it. 22 points to 21. La Rochelle win. Great effort from the Stormers, but it felt like once La Rochelle got themselves ahead just at the right time in the game, that it would be a tough ask for the Stormers to come back. They almost did it though, so credit to them. But La Rochelle just showing the qualities of champions, really. They're coming back from 13 points down at halftime is no easy feat. Okay, so let me pull up the stats from the game then, and we have a look at some of those. For most of these stats, they should be kind of right, but some of them aren't going to be up to date, and we've seen that in other games this weekend as well. So we start with tries, 2 tries to 3. Stormers with that one chalked off. Could have been a different end to the game if they had a little bit more of a cushion, but it felt like with so much momentum with La Rochelle, we could have ended up with La Rochelle going for the try to win it at the end there as well. Penalties then 3-1 in favor of, penalty scored, that is 3-1 in favor of the Stormers. So the Stormers at least keeping the scoreboard ticking over, although there was a patch in the middle of the second half where they didn't do it so well. Meters made then 480 to 392, so just shows the Stormers really were on top for a lot of the game. Clean breaks 8 to 6, defenders beaten 18 to 12, and then passes 120 to 116. Territory 44% to 56. So La Rochelle, although they didn't have as much of the ball, playing in the right areas in the field, and especially in that second half, that really paid off for them. Tackles made then 132 to 88. Tackle success 92% from the Stormers is excellent. 83% for La Rochelle. Not as good, but it was enough to get them over the line in the end. Turnovers won then 4 for the Stormers, 6 for La Rochelle, and the La Rochelle ones were the more critical of the two, I would say, given that they got a couple at least close to their own line when if the Stormers had resourced the ruck properly or just been aware that the threat was there. I'm sure they knew the threat was there, but sometimes you just fall into your pattern of play, and you're thinking about the next pass or whatever, and the ball doesn't come back out of the ruck. Set piece then. Lineouts 11-1 for the Stormers, 14 for La Rochelle, 85% to 100% for La Rochelle. La Rochelle really using that set piece to good effect as well when they were going for those tries that got them back into the game and ultimately got them to win. Scrums won then 8 to 5, 100% each, but obviously on their own ball, teams winning penalties as well. Kicking then, kicks from hand 24 each, and kick meters 764 to 729, so not a significant difference there. Retained kicks then 1 each. Onto the breakdown. Stats for this not in at the moment apparently, other than turnovers, one at the ruck, and that's 4 to 6 as we saw before. Maul totals then 4 for the Stormers, 7 for La Rochelle. La Rochelle, normally it's a big weapon for them, but I thought the Stormers dealt with it for the most part pretty well today. 100% success for the Stormers, 86% for La Rochelle. And then onto discipline. Penalties conceded 13 for the Stormers, 12 for La Rochelle, and both teams guilty of conceding back-to-back penalties that led to scores for their opposition. But Stormers gave away too many penalties in the wrong areas of the field, and losing a player to a sin bin at a very crucial time as well really did help to shift that momentum in the game. Yellow cards then, just 1 for the Stormers, but it was a very impactful one. 2 for the for La Rochelle. So in terms of the two teams, you start with the home team. Stormers, they built up that lead with the wind in the first half, 13-0. They got that penalty as well in the second half to stretch them out to 16, but then they failed to score then as La Rochelle start coming back on closer and closer to them, finally got ahead, and then Stormers had to respond. They did get that try at the end, but they couldn't get over close enough to the post to make it an easy kick for Lebock, and it meant that in the end it was a very, very difficult chance for him to win the game for them. And it felt like in that period where La Rochelle were coming back at them that they needed to get something on the board, but it's so difficult when a team like La Rochelle has the momentum to almost like a team goes into survival mode. They're not thinking about trying to create something themselves, just thinking about trying to keep the La Rochelle out. And that's the problem, I think, at this stage, is La Rochelle, they can just keep building the pressure, and eventually something's going to give, just because of the sheer size and quality that they have in the forwards, and then the quality they have out back as well. But full credit to the Stormers. They made it a really, really tough game for the defending champions, and they could easily have knocked them out as well today. So Stormers are going to be back in this competition, and you can already feel like they're going to be part of the story of future Champions Cups at the sharp end of the tournament, because they have those qualities in their squad, and they're always going to be there or thereabouts in the knockout stages. If a team, and I think they will, can make the knockout stages season on season the way the Stormers have done so far, it's only going to be a matter of time before they're making semi-finals and finals and maybe lifting the trophy as well. La Rochelle, they've already lifted the trophy in the last 2 seasons. They want to do it again. It's addictive, winning in Europe, and with that momentum now coming out of this game, nobody's going to want to play them in the quarterfinals. Even though coming into this, they were like a third seed. Still, they can go away and win at anywhere in Europe, and that's why teams would love to avoid them. But you're not going to avoid them now. And if it turns out like that, I can't remember who the matchup with, whoever the matchup with. If the 4th seed wins, then La Rochelle are going to be at home as well, which is a huge boost for them too. But they were behind at halftime, but as true champions, they never panic. They just got themselves back into the game, in that second half. They got the first try. They start to build the pressure. They forced the yellow card period as well. They got themselves back within a converted try. They then take the lead from there, and then they just knew that a decent defensive set and making sure that right there at the death, running the clock down in the scrums, and then making sure that the Stormers couldn't get over close to the post to make it almost a guaranteed win for them. They made that kick as difficult as they could, and in the end it was too difficult for Lubbock and the Stormers. They march on, and as I said, nobody's going to want to play them in the quarterfinals, but somebody's going to have to.